Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Greatness ain't some secret formula hidden in a book nobody can find. Greatness is already inside you. God put it there the moment you showed up on this earth. The real question is, are you willing to reach in, pull it out, and use it believing in your God-given purpose is the foundation of everything you will ever build in life. Before you chase success, before you set goals, before you try to impress the world, you must understand that you were created with intention. You are not an accident, you are not a mistake, and you are not here just to take up space. There is something stitched into your spirit that nobody else on this earth has. When you believe that, truly believe that, your entire life begins to shift. You stop living in fear and start living in purpose. You stop comparing yourself to people who are running a completely different race. You stop trying to fit into places that were never designed for you in the first place. Belief isn't about thinking positive. It's about recognizing that the gifts inside you were placed there for a reason, and greatness flows from using those gifts boldly. Most people never achieve greatness because they doubt what they've been given. They look at their talents and say, this isn't enough. They look at their dreams and say, this is too big. They look at their past and say, I'm not worthy. But belief destroys all of that. When you believe in your purpose, you understand that you have, is exactly what you need to start. You don't wait for validation because your purpose came from a higher source than human approval. You don't wait till life feels easy because purpose is often born in discomfort. You don't wait until you have it all figured out because belief makes you bold enough to step even when you can't see the whole path. Belief teaches you to move anyway, trusting that the next step will reveal itself when it's time. Belief in your purpose also builds resilience. When you know why you're here, failure doesn't break you. It shapes you. Setbacks don't make you quit. They remind you to adjust. Challenges don't discourage you. They strengthen you. Purpose gives your pain meaning, and when your pain has meaning, you can endure almost anything. Belief that every season of your life is preparing you for something greater, even the ones that feel heavy or confusing. You stop seeing difficulties as signs you should give up. Instead, you see them as training for the person you're becoming. Belief also activates courage. You can't walk in your purpose while hiding from your own potential. When you believe in what you've been created to do, you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop dimming your light because someone else is intimidated by your shine. You stop settling for less because you realize you were never built for average. Belief pushes you out of the comfort zone that has kept you small for too long. It whispers to you in the moments when you're scared and says, you can't stay here. There's more for you. Ultimately, believing in your God-given purpose transforms the way you think, the way you move, and the way you see yourself. It becomes the inner voice that keeps you steady when life gets loud. It becomes the compass that guides your decisions. It becomes the fire that fuels your greatness. Embracing failure as part of the journey is one of the most powerful mindsets a person can develop, because failure is not a sign that you are unqualified or incapable. It's evidence that you are trying, stretching, and moving towards something meaningful. Most people misunderstand failure. They think it is the end of the road, a permanent stamp that says, you are not good enough. But failure is not a dead end. It is a detour that leads you toward growth, wisdom, and resilience. Every great person you admire has failed, some of them more times than you can imagine. The difference is that they refuse to let those failures define them. They saw failure not as something to fear, but as something to learn from, something that sharpens their character, toughens their spirit, and prepares them for the very success they dream about. When you embrace failure, you strip it of its power to intimidate you. You stop tiptoeing through life trying to avoid mistakes. Instead, you take bold steps, knowing that every move, whether it works out or not, is moving you forward. You start to understand that failure is feedback. It's information. It's a teacher. It shows you what needs to change, what needs to improve, what needs to be strengthened. Without failure, there is no refinement, no evolution, no mastery. A person who has never failed is a person who has never tried anything challenging enough to change their life. Failure also reveals the strength of your commitment. Anybody can chase a dream when the path is smooth and the results come easily. But the greatness requires perseverance. It demands that you keep going even after you fall, even after people doubt you, even after you doubt yourself. Each time you rise from failure, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought. This world has not yevel, mess of grit, discipline, and determination. You find out that your dream means enough to you that you're willing to struggle for it, fight for it, and grow for it. When you embrace failure, you stop taking it personally. You realize that stumbling doesn't mean you are unworthy. It means you are human. You stop beating yourself up for not being perfect and instead focus on being persistent. You learn to separate your mistakes from your identity. A failure is something that happened, not something you are. That shift alone frees you from the shame that keeps most people stuck. It allows you to look at your missteps objectively and ask, what can I take from this that will make me better next time? Embracing failure also builds humility and empathy. It reminds you that everyone is fighting their own battles. Everyone has moments of doubt, and everyone takes wrong turns occasionally. When you understand your own struggles, you become more patient with others. You stop judging so quickly because you know what it feels like to fall, to try again, to hope again. This humility makes you a better leader, a better friend, a better partner, and a better human being. Most importantly, when you embrace failure, you give yourself the freedom to dream bigger. You stop living small out of fear of what might go wrong. You stop holding back because you're afraid of embarrassment. You stop settling for average because you're scared of the risk required for greatness. Failure becomes less of a monster and more of a mentor, guiding you step by step toward the life you were meant to live. Staying consistent, even when motivation fades, is one of the hardest challenges in the pursuit of greatness, because motivation is temporary, unpredictable, and heavily influenced by emotions. You can wake up one morning feeling unstoppable, and the very next day, question everything you're doing. That's normal. But what separates people who achieve extraordinary things from those who give up halfway is not motivation. It's consistency. Consistency is the quiet force that carries you through the days when you don't feel inspired, when the results are slow, when the excitement wears off, and when the work becomes repetitive. It's showing up even when you don't want to. It's choosing discipline over mood, effort over excuses, progress over perfection. When you master consistency, you can achieve what most people only dream about because you are willing to keep going long after others stop. Consistency builds trust within yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, You reinforce the belief that you are capable, dependable, and strong. Small, repeated actions become habits. Habits become routines. Routines build a lifestyle, and that lifestyle eventually becomes the foundation of your success. People often look at someone who has achieved greatness and assume they made one big courageous decision, when the truth is they made thousands of small disciplined choices that most people overlook. 5 minutes of effort, 10 minutes of practice, a little learning every day, it adds up. Consistency turns tiny steps into massive progress. Motivation is emotional, but consistency is intentional. Is this what you do when the excitement is gone? When nobody is cheering for you, when nobody is watching. It's waking up early when your body wants more sleep. It's practicing your craft when your friends are out having fun. It's choosing long-term rewards over short-term comfort. This doesn't mean you never rest. It means you learn the difference between rest and quitting. Rest recharges you. Quitting resets you back to zero. Consistency teaches you that even slow progress is still progress, and slow progress is always better than none. Consistency also strengthens your character because it forces you to confront your weaknesses. When you stay committed to something long-term, you become aware of your patterns, your procrastination habits, your distractions, your fears. You can't hide from yourself. You learn discipline, patience, and resilience. You learn how to manage your emotions instead of letting your emotions control your actions. You learn how to create structure in your life instead of waiting for circumstances to make things easy. Another powerful truth about consistency is that it creates momentum. Once you start building a pattern of action, it becomes easier to continue. You may begin with small effort, but over time your capacity grows. What once felt difficult becomes normal, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. The more consistent you are, the more confidence you build. The more confidence you build, the more you are willing to tackle bigger goals. Staying consistent, even without motivation, also sets you apart from people who rely on luck or talent alone. Talent can give you a head start, but consistency determines how far you go. Many talented people fail because they never learn discipline, while ordinary people often rise to greatness simply because they never stopped working. Consistency levels the playing field. It gives everyone a chance to win. Ultimately, consistency is a promise you make to yourself. A promise that says, no matter how I feel, I will keep moving forward. It is the bridge between dreams and accomplishments, between intention and reality. And when you stay consistent long enough, even without motivation, you eventually create a life that once only existed in your imagination. Surrounding yourself with people who elevate you is one of the most transformative decisions you will ever make in life, because the company you keep shapes your mindset, influences your habits, and ultimately determines the direction of your future. Whether you realize it or not, the people around you, they're lifting you higher or pulling you lower. They're either fueling your growth or feeding your doubts. They're either reminding you of who you can become or reinforcing the limits you've placed on yourself. No one rises to greatness alone, and no one falls without influence. Your circle is a mirror that reflects what you tolerate, what you believe about yourself, and what you think you deserve. When you surround yourself with people who elevate you, you surround yourself with energy that pushes you to grow. These are the people who challenge your excuses, who hold you accountable, who expect more from you, because they can see the greatness inside you even when you can't. They aren't intimidated by your dreams. they encourage them. They aren't jealous of your progress. They celebrate it. They don't drain your spirit. They expand it. Being around people like this forces you to rise, to think higher, to do better. You start adapting their habits, their discipline, their confidence. You begin to adopt their mindset. And because your environment becomes your standard, you naturally upgrade your ambition. On the other hand, staying around people who do not elevate you quietly sabotages your growth. They might not mean harm, but they limit you with their negativity, their small thinking, and their lack of vision. They feed your fears, validate your excuses, and comfort you in places where you should be uncomfortable enough to change. They laugh at dreams too big for their own imagination and pressure you to shrink so they don't feel insecure. Over time, you begin to absorb their limitations like secondhand smoke. Slowly, subtly, and dangerously, you start talking like them, thinking like them, and settling like them. That is why choosing your circle is not about arrogance, it's about alignment. When you surround yourself with the right people, your conversations change. Instead of gossip, you talk about goals. Instead of competition, you build collaboration. Instead of blaming, you focus on solutions. Instead of complaining, you search for opportunities. You begin to feel inspired, even when life is challenging, because the people around you remind you that challenges are temporary, but purpose is permanent. They don't let you quit on yourself. They don't let you forget who you are. They don't let you settle for average when you were created for excellence. Surrounding yourself with people who elevate you also teaches you to raise your standards. You learn to set boundaries without guilt. You learn to walk away from relationships that drain your peace. You learn that protecting your energy is a form of self-respect. You discover that it is better to walk alone with clarity than follow a crowd with no direction. You begin to value depth over popularity, authenticity over approval, quality over quantity. Most importantly, elevating your circle helps you elevate your life. The right people open your mind, open opportunities, and open doors you didn't even know existed. They inspire you to believe in bigger possibilities. They remind you that greatness is contagious. And when you're surrounded by it, you can't help but rise. Focusing on gratitude and humility is one of the most powerful ways to transform your life, because gratitude grounds you in what you have, and humility prepares you for what's coming. When you live with gratitude, you learn to appreciate the blessings in your life, not just the big victories, but the small ones that often go unnoticed. Gratitude teaches you to slow down, breathe, and recognize that even in difficult seasons, there is something worth appreciating. It shifts your attention away from what's missing and toward what's already present. And when your heart is focused on what's good, you naturally attract more good. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a perspective that shapes how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and how you handle success. Humility complements gratitude in a powerful way. While gratitude reminds you of your blessings, humility reminds you that those blessings don't make you better than anyone else. Humility keeps your feet on the ground while your dreams soar. It keeps your ego in check, not by lowering your worth, but by reminding you that every person has value, every journey is unique, and every success is built on the foundation of support, learning, and grace. Humility is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's the realization that you don't have all the answers and you don't need to pretend you do. It opens the door to learning, growth, and authentic relationships. Practicing gratitude and humility transforms the way you interact with the world. When you are grateful, you stop taking things for granted. Things like health, opportunities, friendships, and even challenges. You begin to see difficulties as lessons, not punishments. You appreciate the people who support you, and you acknowledge the progress you've made without downplaying your effort. Gratitude softens your heart and makes you more present. It shows you that no matter how far you still want to go, you have already come a long way. Humility, on the other hand, shapes your character. It teaches you to listen more than you speak. It teaches you to value wisdom over pride, growth over ego, and understanding over judgment. Humility helps you build stronger relationships because it allows you to connect with others genuinely without pretending to be someone you're not. People are naturally drawn to individuals who carry themselves with confidence yet remain grounded enough to treat everyone with respect. Humility invites trust, and trust builds influence. Gratitude also strengthens your mental resilience. When you cultivate a grateful mindset, you become better equipped to handle life's hardships. Instead of letting problems consume you, you learn to look for the blessing behind them. Maybe the setback taught you patience. Maybe the failure taught you wisdom. Maybe they protect you from something you weren't ready for. Gratitude doesn't erase challenges. It gives you the strength to rise above them with a clearer mind and a stronger heart. Humility teaches you to celebrate others without feeling threatened. In a world where comparison is easy, humility reminds you that someone else's success is not your failure. You learn to support others, encourage them, and learn from them instead of competing out of insecurity. A humble heart makes room for collaboration, and collaboration leads to greater opportunities. Both gratitude and humility shape your attitude when you finally achieve success. Without them, success becomes dangerous, fuel for ego, arrogance, and entitlement. But with gratitude and humility, success becomes meaningful. It becomes something you want to share, something inspires others, something that honors the people who helped you along the way. Gratitude keeps your heart soft, humility keeps your spirit grounded, and together they create a foundation strong enough to handle greatness. Living with gratitude and humility doesn't just change what you achieve. It changes who you become. It shapes you into someone who not only reaches greatness, but carries it with grace. Taking action is the difference between a life filled with unfulfilled dreams and a life overflowing with realized potential. It is the bridge between intention and reality, the force that transforms ideas into accomplishments, and the spark that pushes your life forward when everything else seems still. You can have the biggest dreams, the most brilliant ideas, or the strongest desire for greatness, but none of it matters if you don't take action. Dreams work only when you do. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, the ideal opportunity. They wait until they feel ready, until they feel confident, until circumstances align perfectly. But perfection never comes, and readiness is often born in the doing, not the waiting. Action creates clarity, confidence, and momentum. Things that cannot be developed by thought alone. When you take action, you send a message to yourself that your dreams matter. Even a small step forward carries more power than 1,000 intentions that never leave your mind. Action breaks the cycle of hesitation and replaces it with progress. It teaches you that movement, no matter how slow, is better than standing still. Every time you take action, you weaken fear, doubt, and procrastination. You replace them with courage, discipline, and belief. You begin to trust yourself because you're no longer just talking about what you want. You're doing something about it. Action also reveals possibilities you could never see from a distance. When you sit still, every challenge looks fearsome, every goal looks unreachable, and every path looks uncertain. But when you move, the path unfolds. Doors appear that you didn't notice before.